All right, so getting right back to what we're talking about, how these moves in free agency have helped to affect what they're going to do in the draft. And that's really what we're talking about today. The main topic today is how will these moves, even the ones with for backups, by the way, because the 49ers signed what Vidarian Lowe, and they also signed Brett Toth. So two O-linemen, backup money. So they're going to be backups more than likely, unless somebody goes down, obviously. But they're coming on to back up the guys that are already there. And then the 49ers also, again, they signed Nate Hobbs yesterday. So kind of late afternoon, evening time, they got Nate Hobbs. And so, again, that's another cornerback, probably a backup guy, special teamer, somebody that can help out because you just lost Jason Pinnock, who I think is going back to the New York Giants. Don't quote me on that, but I thought I saw that today. So there's some movement there. I do think the free safeties is an area where the 49ers have not attacked yet. And I think part of that is they like Malik Mustafa. They like Marquise Siegel. I have no clue how they really feel about Jair Brown. I think as fans, we feel a certain way about Jair. We've been hoping that he can keep improving off of his rookie season, but it just hasn't happened for one reason or another. I think that he's not a guy that the high end is something where you can look to and say he's going to be a really great player at this point. I think that he can be a rotational piece. He's definitely more of a backup at this point, special teamer. But again, you drafted him, second round, I think, or second or third, might have been third round a few years ago when you didn't have a first round pick. And so he was the first guy taken off the board, if I'm not mistaken, that year. And so it was just one of those strange things, or one of the first guys taken. And it was one of those strange situations because of, I think, the Trey Lance trade, and you moved all those pieces where you're picking us in the second and third. And that's kind of a gamble zone, especially in the third, where you don't know if a guy's going to be a really good player and a starter, rotational starter, or if he's going to end up being a backup. I think because of the speed and the ability to track the ball is so important these days, the 49ers still don't have a true ball hawk, and they haven't had one for a long, long time. I mean, the closest we had, honestly, to a real ball hawk safety who could create turnovers was Deshaun Goldson. So, Deshaun's been gone for a while now, from this team. And so to go this many years with not having a true ball hawk that creates turnovers, not just in terms of punching the ball out, but can track the ball and can jump routes, can do a lot of the things we grew up watching. A lot of us, again, 90s kids grew up watching guys like Charles Woodson, Ed Reed, Merton Hanks. I would love a poor man's Merton Hanks right now on this team. Merton was awesome. Tim McDonald, just to talk about 49ers safeties for a second, not the other all-time greats from other teams, but that's kind of what I want to see the 49ers do. Now, maybe that guy comes in the form of a rookie that comes in out of college. I really like Jalen Kilgore. That's somebody that I would definitely trade up for, into the back of the second, early third. I do think he's going to be gone somewhere between the back of the second and early third. Really good safety. I know the 49ers like Michael Taffy, who did a good job, not a great job. He ran about a 4.5 40. And not that that's the only thing, but just in terms of that tracking speed, Kilgore is faster than Taffy. He's closer to being like a 4.4 flat type of guy. Size, he's a little bit bigger than Taffy. Taffy's about 6'1", 190. So think of kind of the Ricky Pearsall physique, whereas Jalen Kilgore is about 6'2", 200. So it's different. You add an extra 10 pounds of mass, but the athleticism is still great. And so just something to think about. And I do like how Taffy creates turnovers. So I do want to be clear about that. Those guys, though, that's kind of the model, I think, for what the 49ers need to look for. Looking for in-the-box safeties, looking for guys that can just get, a pass defense here and there. I think those days are done. The Jimmy Ward days of undersized safeties, those days are kind of gone. I mean, and I'm not saying that just because Seattle has Nicky Manwari and these other teams have all these other big safeties and these hybrids, but that's kind of the way of the NFL. I mean, you have big slots now. You don't have a bunch of guys that are 5'7", 5'8" in the slot. You still have some, but you also have guys that are 6 feet tall or 6'3", 6'2", 6'3" in the slot playing receiver. So you have to be able to account for that with a bigger safety, a more athletic safety. the crossing routes, being able to dissect those things. And then obviously your pass rush. It's just paramount that your pass rush get there. So all that to say, it looks like with some of these moves that the 49ers have made in free agency, for sure, wide receiver, you can still add a guy like Jeremy Bernard. And I actually posted a mock draft about, I don't know, maybe a half hour ago so you can see that on Twitter, Niners on the Go 49. So at Niners on the Go 49, you can check that out. And then I'm hoping to do like a full one live at some point, but I wanted to wait, to be honest, because I knew there was going to be so much movement and that was going to affect how all those pieces fell. So, and I definitely wanted to give you guys not just the ones that I just do daily or almost daily, but something that's a lot closer to, hopefully, to what the 49ers will do and attack. Because like I said, it's a passion of mine to do the scouting. So I'm interested to see, are they going to go wide receiver early? They could definitely go edge. I'm still bullish on Zion Young out of Missouri, 6'6", 255, 260. Great run stopper, but he's got a ton of ability as well. Rushing the passer, he's a guy that can get double-digit sacks. I think he's a guy that's going to get double-digit sacks in the league. So do you think about him at 27? If you trade back, like I did in the mock, again, spoiler alert, but like I did on the mock that I just did today, I traded with New England for their 31st pick because I wanted to get extra picks, maybe get a third round back that we just traded away to get Osa, right? So to get Osa Odigizua. So that, and by the way, welcome back, Dre Greenlaw. I posted about that too on Niners on the Go 49 Instagram. And so, so glad to have him. So what does that mean for the linebacker position? All of a sudden, and by the way, you signed Garrett Wallow as well, who not a huge deal, but he's a guy that is going to help you on special teams, depth piece. And now that linebacker room is really full. So you're probably not going to be drafting a linebacker because they may not make the team. So maybe as an undrafted free agent or something like that. But what do you do there? The 49ers are still talking to Brian Robinson Jr., try to bring him back on a team-friendly deal. Maybe another 1 year, maybe a 2 year. I'm guessing he's probably going to want more than just the single year. So there's a few guys I really like. I like Robert Henry Jr. out of UTSA. Great running back, big, strong, fast, a guy that accelerates extremely well after he gets past the line of scrimmage. So a guy that's a quick cut guy, but can also go north and south really well. So lots of options there. What they're going to do, are they going to draft a tight end? I would think that they would want to, because George is probably not going to be ready week 1. So if George isn't ready week 1, then maybe a guy like Sam Roush, 6'6", 265, 267, I believe, at the combine, but he ran, a sub 4.7. I think it was sub 4.7. It was either 4.7 flat or sub 4.7. But his acceleration is really good. He probably is a guy that if he sheds a little weight can run in the 4.6s, and his 10-yard split is really good. So he's a guy that's sneaky. What's the sneaky fast, right? Sneaky athletic. And we only say that because he's so huge. He's massive. Probably the best blocking tight end in this draft class, or top 2 or 3. And we know how much Kyle values that, obviously, with George all these years being the elite blocker that he is at tight end. So Sam Roush, that's an option at tight end. So lots of options for the 49ers. Again, wide receiver, obviously, probably thinking early. I like Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama, about 6'1", 210. He's kind of built, I've said before, his route running is excellent. So he does a great job running his routes, kind of like Ayuk did, but he's a bigger, faster, stronger version of Ayuk, at least coming out of college. Maybe you go there and you can get an extra second rounder or a third rounder. I don't know. 49ers have 3 fourth-round picks, so they have some ability to move up. They have some capital, and remember, they can use picks from next year as well. So I'm sure they're going to get more compensatory picks next year for the guys that leave this year and whatnot. And so for me, you have to do what you need to do to improve your team at this moment. Again, 49ers need to win every year. They're not trying to just win 2 or 3 years from now. So if they lose a pick here and there in the mid rounds or in day 2 to get an extra second or third this year, that would be awesome. And so all that to say, thank you so much, you guys, for joining me, and I will catch you really soon. Take care, everybody.